Hello, Northern Colorado. My name is Lawrence Yoon, Chief Economist with National Association of Realtors. Here, video recording in Washington, D.C. Today, I had a relatively easy commute because we are in the third or fourth week of the government shutdown, and Washington is very quiet at the moment. It's good to hear that 75% of realtor members indicated they are not feeling any impact from the government shutdown. But nonetheless, 11% of the realtor members are indicating some delays. FHA is open for business. Most mortgages that is backed by Fannie and Freddie are open for business. So you should not see any delay. But given at the Department of Housing and Urban Development, 90% of staff are not working, there could be little bottlenecks developing, but technically open for business. One area where it is not open for business is rural housing mortgages. So in some outlying regions along Fort Collins, maybe you have some consumers who are reliant on the zero down payment USDA rural housing mortgages. That is not available. And also for some people who have fluctuating income, say small business owners, they need income verification from Internal Revenue Service, and that is running into some hiccups. So there could be some delay related to that. So very few realtors so far indicating any delays related to the government shutdown in terms of mortgage availability. However, there is also about 10% of realtors indicating, not related to mortgage excess, but that consumers are becoming more hesitant to enter the market because of the chaotic nature of Washington and possible negative direction to the economic growth. In fact, economists from the White House are beginning to shave GDP growth estimate for 2019. Longer the shutdown, slower the economic growth. So let's hope that things are resolved, or that by the time that you are seeing this, the government shutdown is over. But I want to thank Brandon Wells for inviting me for doing this video, and also for Chris McRoy, a great friend of mine who arranged this. And thank you, Chris, for setting this up, but also your deep involvement in NAR governance structure, your RPAC contributions, all makes a great difference for NAR. So let's turn to what you can anticipate about the market condition in Northern Colorado. And overall, it is quite good condition because I will show you the data and it is lighting it up. So let me turn towards my computer screen, which I prepared the PowerPoint slide. So let's go over a few data points. First, we are in a very good economy. We are creating jobs for 8 straight years, so very solid job market condition. And with it, we have unemployment rate of less than 4%. These are historically low unemployment rate conditions. And the job openings remain very high. You can walk around Fort Collins and see that there is a sign on the windows to say help wanted, inquire within. And some of you may say, well, I'm not interested in a waitressing job or cashier job. But if you go to LinkedIn professional business website, there's job openings for computer coders, architects, accountants. And if you talk to any home builders, they will say there's plentiful job opening for construction workers. So job openings, looking at the overall statistic, it remains at sky high, record high levels, very, very good condition. And we also have where companies are not firing workers anymore, and hence a very low number of people asking for unemployment benefits. Another good sign for the economy. The net worth has been rising, partly due to the home values consistently increasing, certainly in Colorado region. I mean, Denver area, enhanced Fort Collins area has been one of the hottest market in the country the past 2-3 years. So people have seen sizable housing wealth accumulation from the home price gain. And for people who are just starting out their life, people in their 20s, maybe they don't have so much exposure to the stock market. They are not a homeowner. But the first ladder towards economic progress is to get wages and save some of that money. Fortunately, tight labor market is leading to wages finally picking up. 3.2% growth in the latest data. So the wages are finally picking up. So a very good condition. If President Trump was in this video, he would say, what do you mean good economy? This is a great economy. So certainly numbers look very good as related to the economy. Let me show you a few graphical data to illustrate these points. This is the job numbers that I was mentioning. So you see that we have a red arrow downward. That was the painful period of the foreclosure crisis, subprime lending busting, and home prices declining. So we lost jobs during that period. But look from year 2010 onwards. So you see a steady job gains. At times, you see President Obama sometimes make comment to say that current job market is just continuation of the momentum that he has set up. Now, we're not going into the debate about who is right or who is wrong, but one can understand why President Obama would make that comment, because this is not a one-year phenomena or 2 years, but it's a multiple year of job creation. And one can just say that it's good for America that jobs are being created, and possibly because of the tax cut under President Trump, maybe some of that growth has been accelerated in the past couple of years. Fort Collins, look at this. It is on fire. So if one looks at from year 2000, so over the past 18 years, for the country as a whole, job creation has been only about 13% growth. And that is historical average, good number. But Fort Collins is running at 3 times as fast as the national numbers, which is the reason why, back in spring of 2018, you saw essentially no inventory because people with jobs were competing. Inventory levels, as I understood, it was less than 2 months supply, very heated condition, and you see why, strong job market condition. And from about 120,000 jobs 18 years ago to today, 170,000 plus jobs. That's about 50,000 additional job addition in Fort Collins region. That's a stadium full of people. Stadium full of people being added to Fort Collins with jobs and salaries. And you are wondering why there is some traffic jams. Well, just be happy. The reason why you have traffic jam is because of this strong job growth conditions. We are in a very unique circumstance in America in terms of the labor market. I have already discussed many points, but here is a very new, interesting, rare point. The red line indicates the number of people who don't have job and searching for job, while the blue is the number of job openings. And we are in a very rare circumstance where job opening is actually higher than people who are searching for job. So technically, one may say, can we get the unemployment rate down to 0 if we can match up these people? But there are frictions, and then one of the friction is that some people just don't have the skill set. I know in Fort Collins, University of Colorado nearby, in Boulder, a lot of technology companies are coming to nearby areas, so it requires more high-tech skills. So if one do not have certain skill set, they cannot find those jobs. Another is geographic immobility. Wyoming has been more dependent upon energy production, so when the oil prices are high, jobs are plentiful. When the oil prices crash, maybe some people in Wyoming wants to move to Fort Collins, but there is some friction about geographic mobility. People do not want to leave one area to go into another area. But we have to make the note that there are more job openings than people are searching for job in America today, a very rare circumstances and certainly a great condition for the workers. Companies are not firing. So this is the number of people filing for unemployment check, historically low. Again, another good indicator. So if the economy is good, job market is good, why is it that home sales are not consistently rising? In fact, for 2018, home sales are modestly lower compared to 2017. So what is going on? Good economy, yet home sales are not rising, essentially moving sideways. And it is the West region, the big decline out in the West, which includes the state of Colorado, but California, state of Washington, Nevada, Utah. Sales are down significantly along with pending contracts. And it is the West region that is the strongest job market condition. What is happening is simply that if you find a good job in, say, Silicon Valley, that does not guarantee you can buy a home because it is too pricey. And same thing in Denver, and now it may be occurring in Fort Collins. Home prices have risen so much, far outpacing people's income growth, that even with good economy, you will not have higher home sales unless there is a sufficient inventory, especially on the moderately priced homes. So if we don't have more moderately priced inventory of homes available, the home sales will be coming down and you will have fewer business opportunities. And the affordability condition has certainly weakened compared to recent times because of a combination of rising mortgage rates and home prices rising. But it is worth noting that affordability condition today, this part, is a little higher compared to year 2000, 2001 period. So one can say it is actually better buying condition now compared to historical normal, yet it is coming down from what was considered exceptionally good opportunity. Remember during the subprime crisis, for those few people who had a long vision, they were scooping up those property at discounted prices, and they are doing very well. So what to anticipate? First is that affordability is getting hit because of rising mortgage rates. And in fact, Federal Reserve raised their short-term interest rate for the 8th time in December. And when they did so, the stock market tanked. And in fact, stock market declined because there were some organization, including NAR, was cautioning the Federal Reserve to maybe the Federal Reserve should not be raising rates because housing market is on more fragile ground with home sales not rising. But the Federal Reserve nonetheless raised interest rates, and they were trying to justify why they raised the rates during the press conference, but there was no good response from the stock market, from the companies, and few days afterwards, Federal Reserve began to come out with statement to say maybe they want to be patient in 2019. And once those pronouncement has been made, we saw the long-term interest rate begin to decline. So back in November, mortgage rate 5%, today 4.5% on the belief that the Federal Reserve may not raise interest rate at all in 2019 compared to what they were saying about 3 or 4 rounds of rate increase. So this is a great news for home buyers, good for the industry. So as the interest rate decline, I anticipate some people who were forced out of the market will reconsider coming back into the market. And historically, when interest rate decline of this magnitude, it led to 200,000 additional home sales across the country. I don't know if that will be the case this time, but that has been the historical relationship, and certainly, again, people right on the margin, 4.5% is much better than 5% mortgage rates. And we are talking about sort of fragile condition in housing market, at least through the 2018 or latter part of 2018. but that is related to home sales and not home prices. Home prices are still rising. Some people are saying, well, I saw on the media that housing market is softening. But then when they consider wanting to buy, home prices are very expensive. So what's going on? So the softness is related to home sales and not home prices. Home prices are rising in 90% of the markets. And generally speaking, it is stronger demand in lower price point homes and also in more closer downtown areas, especially among millennials. They have a preference for walkable communities, some condominium style of living, closer to entertainment areas. So this is where the strongest demand is occurring. A much softer price condition out in the rural areas. And this is the price of the three major markets in Colorado. The blue line is Denver, super hot. The purple is Fort Collins. And the red is Pueblo, Colorado, down in South Colorado. Pueblo is the only area where home sales are still rising. And the reason why Pueblo home sales are rising, even though they have a weaker economy, because prices are affordable. So we need to assure that there is an adequate supply of affordable homes if we want that sales activity to increase. And it is critical because if people are renting and not able to buy a home, they are not building wealth. So this data from the Federal Reserve clearly shows the long-term benefit of owning versus renting. The blue bar is year 2000. The red bar is year 2016, for which the Federal Reserve has published the data. And one can say that even through the bubble crash and recovery, homeowners have done well. And the green bar is just my estimate based on the past couple of years price trend. The Federal Reserve has not updated their figures, but when they update it, I anticipate it would look something like this. So access to home ownership is critical, but we need that affordable homes. Unlike last time when the real estate value was rising, which is the red line, the mortgage outstanding, the people taking out mortgage was rising back in 2005. So home values were rising as people took out more mortgages. And we know what happened. Those mortgages were funny, subprime, and it led to bad consequence. But today, home prices are rising without increase in mortgage outstanding, which means that homeowners are in much firmer ground. Housing market is healthy. Another indication of healthy housing market, foreclosure rate at historically low levels. But home ownership rate struggling to gain traction in a good economy because of the unaffordability. And consumers are also indicating less optimism about home buying. This is before the recent interest rate decline. Maybe home buyers are feeling a little better with the interest rate decline, but this is when the interest rates were rising. But people who are indicating it is good time to buy, this is the figure. And the reason why they are stating as such is unaffordability and lack of inventory in their price points. So if we have more inventory, I believe the optimism will return for the consumers. And home diminishment in optimism is not related to somehow believing that they think prices will crash. Most consumers, whether it is Gallup survey, whether it is Fannie Mae survey, NAR consumer survey, you see the blue line much higher than the red. Blue is people believing that home values will rise over the next couple of years. Red, people who think prices will decline. So people think home values will rise, yet they are showing diminished optimism because of lack of inventory. Interesting to note, it is the realtors who are the most optimistic of the bunch. Maybe this is the nature of our business, but the realtors believe that prices will continue to increase. Inventory, finally turning for the better. Mostly, as you can see, is the below zero line, which means that inventory was shrinking and shrinking. But every once in a while, we see positive inventory. And maybe we are at a beginning of more sustained inventory growth. Let's hope this is the case because we need more inventory as we face the spring buying season. I know that in Denver and other places, the inventory has been rising, but by historical standards, it is still, I would say, more on that tight inventory condition. But we need that more inventory, especially on the more moderately priced homes. This is one way to bring more inventory through new home construction. And in Fort Collins, one can see the great downward trend during the crash. But during the recovery, it is not back up to pre-recession levels. And that's why there is an inventory shortage, and especially with the job growth that is 3 times as fast as the rest of the country, the housing start should be much higher than this, but it's slowing coming process. Which is the reason why we've been sharing with the local association executives to say, talk to the mayor, talk to the city commissioners, county commissioners about way to boost local supply. Things like if there's a publicly owned vacant land, why don't they provide some opportunity to build more affordable condominiums so that people could purchase? Reduce impact fee, streamline approval process, don't make home building excessively costly. Something critical in Colorado, the lawsuit related to condominium. I think you fixed that, but when it was the case where there could be easy lawsuits, certainly no developers have an incentive to build condominiums. So we need to assure there are many possible things to consider to bring more supply. And tax reform is a wild card that we will be looking into. Nearly everyone got a tax cut. But as related to home purchase, there is some diminishment of tax preference, especially for those large, expensive homes, because mortgage interest deduction amount only carries up to $750,000 in mortgage. So there is more limit on that. And the property tax deduction, as combination of state and local income tax, or known as SALT, is only up to $10,000. When I crunch the numbers, 90% of people in Colorado would be able to fully deduct, meaning they're under $750 in mortgage, under $10,000 in property tax. So they would be able to fully deduct. But given that the tax reform also changed the standard exemption, higher standard exemption, I think there will be far fewer people using itemized deduction, which means as you talk with your clients, when you make the argument, buy a home, get a tax break, your client may actually say, I don't need that tax break, I have a large standard deduction. So just keep that in mind, that tax reform has slightly disincentivized the home purchase tax preference compared to before. But it's all about jobs. As long as there's jobs, I think people will want to buy homes. So the forecast nationwide is that this is before the recent decline in mortgage rates. I will be updating this forecast, but this is the official forecast that we have out so far, is that we have 5.3 million home sales in 2018. I thought that in 2019 it would be roughly the same, but I think I will be boosting this forecast because mortgage rate again has fallen. So I think with lower mortgage rate conditions, home sales could squeak out a gain in 2019. And job condition, we will continue to add jobs, and unemployment rate should be very steady at low levels. And what is the Fort Collins, Northern Colorado forecast? I would say job market is super, better than rest of the country, but you need more affordable homes. So you have to have that. That is what is critical. So talk to the economic developers, or if there's any obstacles, again, costly conditions like zoning, try to see if you can reduce it, because if there is more home construction, that means more future job creation that can occur in the local region. Very vibrant housing market, very vibrant economy if this was to be the case. So I think I cover a lot of angles here. Sorry I cannot be there in person. But you are in a great market. The group has done a tremendous work in terms of getting good market share in the Fort Collins region. So all the best to you, and thank you for allowing me to share your day.